guys. How are you? I'm about to get Brooke Nice on here from Universal Family Wellness to talk about um, the different herbs that they've prescribed me while dealing with the coronavirus. And so I'm waiting to see if she pops up here so I can invite her onto the live chat. People are sending me, here we go. Here we go. All right. View. Okay. Is it happening? Okay. I'm waiting for you, Brooke. Oh, it's connecting.
Hi.
It worked.
Nice.
Okay, great. Technology. All I really have to say is, imagine if the coronavirus had happened in the early 90s before like when people just had pagers, right? That was like the only way to communicate. Fax machines and pagers. That's how we would have been texting each other, with faxes.
Yeah. It's an incredible blessing.
Yeah, this is amazing. So many of you, if you saw my post yesterday, and you've listened to, or you've been tuning in for any of my Instagram lives, I've been talking about how I've been dealing with the positive COVID-19 diagnosis and how I've been healing myself. And the main way I have been dealing with the virus is through my care that I've been getting from Brooke, who's joining us now from Universal Family Wellness. She prescribed some herbs for me the day that I had my first symptoms. And I am a big believer in traditional Chinese medicine and acupuncture. And I have a weekly standing appointment that I do with Brooke. And it just so happened that the first day that I had symptoms for the virus, I happened to have acupuncture that day. Mm-hmm. And we will talk about that. But first, I want Brooke to talk a little bit about the philosophy, the general philosophy around traditional Chinese medicine, and the principles of traditional Chinese medicine, and then how traditional Chinese medicine approaches a virus like COVID-19.
Thank you so much for having me, Laura. Yes, I'm happy to be here to talk about this. I think it's an important time to utilize Chinese medicine. When we remember that the ancient texts that we have studied to learn herbal prescriptions through were written before the time of vaccines. So they were written at a time when there were advanced staging, viruses and pathogens that were coming through. And I'm a fan of vaccines as well, but it's just to say that at a time like this, when we don't have one yet, it is really important to look to a medicine that can treat the pattern. So we're not just treating the pathogen or the virus in this case, but we're looking at how the virus is impacting each body. Which, as we're seeing with COVID-19, is different. So there's different manifestations. It depends a lot upon age, depends a lot upon constitution. So people that have pre-existing conditions are going to tend to have more severe symptoms. Chinese medicine is designed to do that. So designed to treat the person in front, and there may be different patterns that we treat the same. There may be the same pattern that we treat differently, depending upon who is in front of us. So it really allows us this broad range of how to access healing through using herbal prescriptions.
So, like, for example, you would, how did you treat me? Just say, how did you look at me the day that I came in in for my appointment, and what were you looking at?
So the day that you came in and you had the headache was your primary symptom. The sore throat, I think, hadn't even really developed yet, but your pulse was floating and a bit rapid. So we see from our perspective, we use the pulse to understand what's happening with the fluids in the body, to understand what's happening with the blood in the body. And when there's a floating pulse, meaning we can feel it very close to the surface of the 3 positions that we feel it in, we can feel that the body is right on the surface trying to fight something. So the immune system has been activated. And it's a time when, if we can get in and treat right then, and with the headache, that also showed up as what we would call a Tai Yang presentation. If we can treat immediately, that's where we're going to see best results. So I will say it is also, and I've talked with my colleagues at our clinic a lot about this. It is a downfall currently of doing telemedicine, is that Chinese medicine is amazing when we're in the moment, taking a pulse and prescribing herbs right then, which is what you experienced. So now we are dealing with, as we're sending herbs, we're still having really great results from people, and we're able to also send a few formulas for different stages of how the COVID progresses, so that people can start, as you know this, where you start with these symptoms and it moves into the next stage and the next stage. And now, we're doing more harmonizing with yours, which is more of a later stage. So, right. And we can encompass those in what we send to people as well. But it is an incredible benefit to have seen you the day of as well.
Right. So you have been working on a viral support formula, which you customize right. per patient. But in general, what are some of the ingredients, the herbal ingredients that are in there? What do they do? How do they work on a Chinese medicine level?
So, it can get complex as we talk right. about, how the herbs work from a Chinese medical perspective. But really, we're working constantly to look at how to balance cold and heat in the body, and how to balance fluid metabolism in the body. So we know that with COVID, we know it does tend to start more at that neck and head, sore throat. And so with herbs, we're able to, what we call, release the exterior, open up and allow the body to start venting the pathogen, whether that be through sweating or helping to alleviate the fever if that's what's presenting. Some people present with a higher fever. Some people present with more low grade, kind of fluctuating fever. So it really, it does depend, but I would say the herbs that we're using are shown to reduce inflammation overall in the system, so that we can help the body and the immune system respond appropriately to what's going on.
Right. Okay. What was the other question that I had? So when we talk about how we treat ourselves, right? So obviously it was the hysteria of COVID-19. Everybody is like worried whether they have it. They don't know if they have right. it. It's just there's this fear of the unknown, which yeah. I brought into my appointment with you, which was March 12th, which was the last time I was out of my house. And of course, at the time, we didn't have a mandatory quarantine, but I actually chose to quarantine at that point.
Right.
So because I went in and I was showing a headache and my pulse was floating, you sent me home with the viral support formula customized for me, as well as broad spectrum, which is something that I always take. Because I started taking those things immediately upon having a first symptom, how was I benefited as opposed to having waited a number of days and allowing the symptoms to progress?
I think it's a benefit to have seen you in person is a huge benefit, because I can customize based on pulse, based on what I'm seeing in your coloring, what I'm seeing in your tissue, and what I'm feeling through the acupuncture points as well. So it's always a benefit to see you in person. But this is a touch-based medicine. It's a medicine that is based in pulse taking and based in being, close to a patient. So it's been our challenge now that we are embracing to see, okay, how do we continue to use these incredible herbs to respond to this pathogen? And the way that we are doing it is really based on where people are presenting. So if there's somebody in New York that's presenting at a second or a third stage of what we're seeing the progression with, there's a different herbal prescription we're going to send, knowing it's going to take 3 to 4 days to get there. There's also things that we'll recommend that they do at home. So we're making recommendations that things people can go get near them. We have our own organic oregano oil that we really are seeing good results with as well. Turmeric, I'm a huge fan of. Ways to reduce inflammation in the tissues overall is going to help the immune system better respond to the virus. And of course, there's all this talk, I'm sure we've heard about cytokine production as well. Interleukin-6, supporting the body in that way. These herbs are also being studied and shown to have these impacts from a Western perspective as well. So, which is really interesting. I think the benefit with Chinese medicine is that we formulate herbs with prescriptions of 7 to 10 different herbs in a formula. So there's a synergy that happens in these formulas that's different than any one herb on their own. And that's what is very hard to study, from a pharmacological point of view, and yet is one of the things that really sets apart Chinese medical formulations.
Because you're essentially trying to bring the body back into balance.
Right. Because it's about designing a formula based on a presentation versus based on one pharmacological compound. So it's not saying, oh, this is high in berberine, or this is high in vitamin C, or this is high in zinc. It's saying, okay, all of these compounds together work based on a Chinese diagnosis to help address the pattern that's presenting in the body.
Right. Which is also, similar in homeopathy, where when you take a homeopathic formula like oxalicoxonum that deals with the first symptoms of flu, which is fever, chills, headache, body soreness, and fatigue, you're basically treating that symptom showing up. I mean, it's different, but that's not like a Western medicine, which is, hey, we're going to give you an antibiotic to kill the bacteria in the body. It's just a little bit of a different philosophy, which I think is harder for people who are used to Western medicine to wrap their heads around. I want to also let everybody know that how they can, because a lot of people say, what are the herbs? What are the herbs? How can I get them? So Brooke has, they have a website, which is
universalfamilyclinic.com.
universalfamilyclinic.com. On the website, they have a formula called Broad Spectrum. This Broad Spectrum formula, I literally do not leave my home without it. If I get in my car, it's like in my bag. There's like a couple pills in my pocket always, because I do so much traveling and my job is to perform and I have to be healthy. And so it's like this constant struggle of like, get on a plane, be exposed to a lot of sick people. Like hopefully you won't get sick in 24 hours and you can still do your concert or whatever it is. So I have always had this formula around. And when I was presenting symptoms, Brooke said, well, you could go ahead and take Broad Spectrum because it's a general sort of wellness formula for cold and flu. And COVID is a form of a cold virus. It's just a very extreme one that we don't have a lot of information about that can accelerate and exacerbate and have pneumonia-like symptoms, which you don't typically see in a cold. But I began taking the Broad Spectrum right away. Based on the fact that you had said, hey, you could go ahead and start taking that. And I think that actually kept me from having more severe symptoms. And just for everyone to know what my symptoms were, my symptoms are headache, I got headache and chills first, sore throat the next day with chills. Then I had a little bit of a tightness in chest and shortness of breath. And I began taking all of these herbs. What I noticed is like I would have hours where I'd have no symptoms at all. And then I would get like 10 minutes of a symptom. I would take the herbs again, which by the way, you guys, these herbs are like dirt. It's like a dirt tea. It's like you put 5 scoops in hot water and it tastes like the forest floor. I'm just like adding a ton of honey to it.
Which is the beautiful thing about the broad spectrum is encapsulated.
It is in capsules. Thank God.
And that's through appliedbotanicals.com, which is accessible from our website. That's through our herbal company, appliedbotanicals.com.
Okay, so you guys can get the broad spectrum in capsules, not a dirt tea, on their website. And also in general, like if you don't have, or you're not worried about coronavirus, you just like want to protect yourself against cold and flu in the future, this shit is magic, okay? I have like 2 products in my life I can't live without. Broad spectrum is one of them, and the other is this active serum for my face that I ran out of during the quarantine. And I was like, I won't survive this. I won't survive this. This I won't survive. So you can get that. And then also Universal Family Wellness, Brooke, they're offering consultations. So if you are noticing that you have symptoms that seem like they're COVID-19 symptoms, you can go to the website, enter your information, and request an appointment. Is that how you do it?
Yes. You can email me directly at Brooke, Brooke, at universalfamilyclinic.com. You can go through the website and fill out contact through the contact page. You can order broad spectrum, and we also are doing our colloidal silver. That's also proving to be a really important part of what we're sending people. Oregano oil. We have some people are showing up with ear congestion that's manifesting as like pain and ear infection as well. We have ear drops and ear oil that we use. So a lot of our products that we do through Applied Botanicals, we have on our website. For consultations, you can contact us directly.
Right. And for like, so for the viral support formula that is specifically made per patient for COVID-19, this requires a consultation.
Correct. That's correct. Yeah.
Okay. So I think, is there any more information? Is there anything else that you want to talk about?
I think the thing that I want to say, I know it's a time where there's a lot of fear, there's a lot of unknown, there's a lot of uncertainty. And I think the thing I want to offer is just the Chinese medicine allows us tools during these times of not having a vaccine, not having a cure, being really isolated, allowing for thoughts to come and, watching the news and seeing all these stories. And the Chinese medicine, the herbs allow us something that we can do to support our systems. So I would say that is incredible at this time, and understanding our bodies more as these interconnected wholes, as opposed to just this fear of something coming into our space, keeping our bodies in balance, recognizing when there are these things just get slightly off, whether it's a headache, a slight sore throat, and how we can address those right when they come, allows us a little element of control, something we can do. And that's what I think I would offer. It's a different way of understanding our bodies that at this point of time when things are feel so out of control, I think is really beautiful and helpful.
Right. And, in general, like maintaining a healthy lifestyle, and eating like nourishing food, which I know is very hard right now to like find fresh food, and it's not your normal situation where you could just go to the grocery store and you have access to all of like the most amazing greens.
Right.
But there's also this, I do feel like I got through this fairly quickly and easily because the diet was already quite healthy.
Right.
and the practices were already in place because I'm always trying to stay ahead of a cold or a flu or whatever, that this practices, I already had oregano oil. I already had colloidal silver. I already had vitamin C ready to go. I had all these things ready to go. So when you say to me, hey, can you take this? I'm like, yep, I got it. So some of this is like people can go to your store. They can go ahead and have this stuff. So they're prepared if they're feeling symptoms. Oil of oregano and gargling with salt water, things like that. These are things that are never going to hurt you. To have vitamin C is not going to hurt you to take.
Yeah. And eating. The food is so important. The food, and you know, there are still a lot of fresh fruits and vegetables, and stocking up for the week or freezing, blanching and freezing. I'm a huge proponent that food right now is really, really important. And since we have this opportunity to cook more at home, you know, it's really a time to take in as much fruit and vegetables, colors as we can. I think that holds all the vitamins for our systems to function at its best. But also I think important to say one more thing, that with pre-existing conditions, it is important to be cautious of symptoms. So I don't want to make light of this and say, you know, Chinese medicine is the only answer in any way. I think, you know, since 80% or above of people will have mild to moderate cases of this, Chinese medicine is amazing for that. I think if there's pre-existing conditions, like you went and got tested, you know, which I think was very important, and you've stayed up on your lab work and your lung imaging and all of that. I think I want to stress that the combination of the Western and Eastern approach, I really think is better than either one alone. And so I think that's where this is a time for integrative medicine.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. So I don't know, I had made a comment on my post, on my Instagram post, but I went 2 days ago to the ER because I wanted to get a lung x-ray, and I had noticed that I was having a lot of like back pain, which Brooke said that could be inflammation. And so I went and just got everything checked out. And I had the x-ray, which showed my lungs being clear. I took blood work. They took blood work. They just decided to do that. And then they also did an EKG because of my pre-existing heart condition, all of which came out normal. But then I was able to give you my blood work. I was able to give my doctor my blood work, and they could take a look at what was going on in my body. And what we noticed is, while there wasn't the presence of a virus anymore, which is awesome, there was a presence of a lot of inflammation, which could be leading to the reason that I have the back pain or the discomfort in my chest area, because my like a post-viral response. So we talked about that, and what do I do to now combat this post-viral response and the inflammation in my body? And that is taking turmeric.
So you had the other formula, which is, from our perspective, after the body's, you know, through fighting the stages of a pathogen, it's important to harmonize, because the virus, or the inflammatory response from the virus rather, can live in the tissues and can cause other symptoms. So then there's herbs post-infection that can be helpful to deal with, like you're saying, the back pain, or for some people, fatigue. Sometimes it's more like a neuropathy type feeling, but it's not uncommon to have a post-viral response as well.
Right.
Yeah.
Hey, we're on Instagram Live, Tom and Hucker.
Hi, Tom.
Come here, Huck. Hey.
Hi. You're so big. Hi. You're so
big.
Hi,
Brooke,
Tom.
you still recommend whiskey, right? To cure everything?
Only for you, Tom.
Okay, good. Doctor's orders.
You guys, that's my husband. This is my baby Huck. And now Huck is ready to go back to daddy. So yeah, this is someone said, "Oh my God, fetus." Yes, okay. Some people like, not whiskey, Kentucky bourbon. Well, you know, bourbon is a kind of whiskey. We have definitely more bourbon in this house. So what were we saying?
Yeah, just talking about after the pathogen and, you know, a time when that's also, so we've talked about different herbs now, right? So
Right.
we wanted, the important thing with the herbs too is that you don't keep going at a time when they're not necessary. So I saw somebody had asked a question about like, is the broad spectrum something you would take even if you're not having any symptoms at all? And my answer is really no, it's not. It's something that is incredible to have in your medicine cabinet as a first response, and a first response to any immune symptoms that you have, whether it be the sore throat, the headache, the fever, the chills. It could be digestive system is off. But that's when you would start taking it. Normally, I say if people are on airplanes a lot and they're around people, or for people in caregiver settings, that can be something to use preventatively because it is immune supportive and boosting as well. But at a time like this, I would really focus more on the basic, like you said, the vitamin C, the vitamin B, your constitutional herbs. So if you're taking Chinese herbs that are for your constitution, definitely keep doing that. The broad spectrum is great to have for anything that comes up. Yeah.
So some people have asked about how to deal with fear and anxiety. And I know that you recently did a live Instagram with someone who was also helping in that way. I thought maybe that you could give people information about that.
Yes. Yesterday, with Gaia Woods, she's a licensed marriage family counselor. We did a live Instagram. We had some technical difficulties, but she had some great tips using really examining. The thing I liked, she said both, was examining how we are responding to this challenge and recognizing that each person is responding a little differently, and that it can be really easy to sort of take a response personally. Or especially with a partner in a home, you know, it can be easy to think, oh, they're feeling this way because I'm feeling this way. And really, it's not the case, that we're all going to process this event so differently. And so letting space for that so that we can just say, okay, this is where I'm at today. I feel like I'm grieving the loss of what my life was, or I'm feeling stressed or anxious, and allowing the people around us that are in our bubbles to be where they're at too, and just recognize it's a hard time and it's gonna pass. We don't know when, and that's part of what's so hard, but we know it will pass, and we know that it is an opportunity. There's a lot of things that we are seeing and learning from just cooking at home all the time, you know, being with our families more, maybe reaching out to loved ones more. Maybe having to dig deeper in ourselves and just sit in this uncomfortable situation is always an opportunity. So I don't undermine the challenge, believe me, but you know, I think we need to support each other. So I highly recommend reaching out to people to talk about how we're feeling.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's interesting. Oh, someone had a question. Are autoimmune diseases counting as something that would require a consultation, or just take broad spectrum? Good question.
That's a very good question. Broad spectrum is safe for autoimmune conditions, but I do recommend for somebody that is currently dealing with an autoimmune condition and looking for tools for dealing with the potential impact of the virus, I would recommend doing a consultation. But the broad spectrum is safe. It is neither, it's not immune stimulatory, which is what can be problematic with autoimmune, right? We don't want to stimulate the immune system when it's already over responding. And broad spectrum does not do that. So it is safe to have. I see many, many people with autoimmune conditions, but it's also could be good to have a chat if there was more specific things to talk about.
Yeah. Some people asked if NAC and RM10, so RM10, I don't know if you know, it's kind of like a mushroom complex. It's an immune, and I take it, and I know that it's okay to take a few every day to build the immune system. I have for a while. NAC, I'm not sure. I just started taking with the COVID. So yeah. I know it's an antioxidant.
Yeah, it's an amino acid that is helpful for dealing with inflammatory proteins in the body. So it is, I think, I am hearing from more integrative doctors who I've been connecting with and reading material from that it is really helpful right now. We do sell NAC as well, and we are recommending people with symptoms take it. In terms of taking it preventatively, if you have an otherwise healthy constitution, you don't have pre-existing conditions, I really recommend eating healthy, managing stress, so getting out for your walks, checking in with your body, being gentle with yourself, reaching out to other people, and then taking your vitamins, taking the vitamin C, the vitamin D, but I think we don't need to be scared right now. We just want to be prepared. And I think the goal of this is not to say stock up on all this stuff necessarily. It's just to say this is another way to understand what happens when the virus enters our body. This is another way to understand what happens when stress impacts our immune system and suppresses the immune function. So it's more, this is a time where we have the opportunity to learn how to better understand our bodies.
Yeah. Also, I know Lisa Gennari asked, yes, it is. It's good to take broad spectrum if you're living with someone who's tested positive, for sure.
Yes.
But also, Brooke's husband, who works with her, Michael Neese, is on here answering questions when people have them, which is actually really helpful. So if you see Michael R. Neese, he is also qualified to answer the questions, and he's answering them. So yeah, I mean, I think, some people ask, like, how do you deal with anger? I mean, I think it's the same sort of thing. This is a time right now, which you and I spoke about yesterday, where when things are put into the pressure cooker, your life is, you don't know where your money's coming from next. You don't know how you're going to be paying your bills, and that's a terrifying in and of itself. That's almost as much of a trauma than the disease itself, the virus. Yeah. So I know that everybody's going through like just a mix of emotions. What's interesting is that it's also an opportunity to see how these situations affect you, to turn inward, to do some contemplating. We do have time. We're not so aggressive. We're not going out there and do, where sometimes we don't even know the reasons of why we're doing these things. This is a good time. And I know that my husband and I have done a lot of reflecting on, wow, it is nice to be home with our son. It is nice to be home with each other. Are we constantly in a rat race where we're just going and doing, and we're on the hamster wheel and having a little bit of time, even though we've had COVID-19, there's been some positive, there's been a silver lining. And the silver lining is that we've been able to kind of take account of what we're enjoying about this time together and how to reevaluate our finances. Are there places that we're just spending way too much money that we shouldn't? Like, we canceled a ton of subscriptions to a ton of crap. Anything that we didn't need anymore, that it's like I've been paying for, some subscription to something I didn't even know I had. Like, just going through and getting everything in order. It's been a nice time, and I've actually been fairly busy. Besides watching, binge watching Outlander. That's my priority right now.
I'd say anything that helps you rest, I'd say yes. Somebody said daily routines too, which I think the routine is, and accepting it's going to look so different. Like, daily Outlander is part of the routine now, and that's okay, or the daily walks, with the kids that don't have school, and, figuring that out. I think it's, that's another tip, is that broad spectrum is great for kids too. So that's something else that is good for people to know. But yeah, having something in your routine that brings you joy, and whether that is a great show, that's, laughing with your partners or friends, that's a book, that's, you're stretching, it's dancing, the way that the online dancing things have been able to keep going, dance studios, yoga studios. I love that. I just think that's so great for people to be active in their homes.
Somebody said, Brian said, I've been allowing myself a daily margarita.
Yeah.
A lot of people need that daily drink. I've never been more sober in my life personally.
Yeah, which is really important. Really important.
Never been eating cleaner until people started dropping off baked goods at my house.
Gluten-free though, gluten-free baked goods.
Yes, they are gluten-free because otherwise I couldn't eat them. So some people said, is there an age limit for kids? And I also wanted to ask you to follow up with is the dosage different?
Yeah, so we don't ever give kids really under a year herbs. So I'm not babies. We're talking about, toddlers. You start, they're capsules. We open them up and I use honey. If a child can tolerate honey, obviously only ever over a year. So we don't give children herbs under a year. And then, like my kids, for instance, that's all they know. So it doesn't taste great. The honey helps, but they also, when you start young, it helps support their systems. Anything that they get, which is normal, whether it's ear infection, sore throat, they get cold and flu symptoms, congestion. It can be really helpful for them. And it's good for them to start young because then, they sort of set in motion this pattern of, oh, I'm feeling this. I think I should take my herbs. And and with kids, they change so quick. So we're talking, often it's one or two doses of herbs and they're done.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and I know some people have had questions about, I have an infant, is 10 months old. I'm currently breastfeeding. It's dwindling, but I'm still breastfeeding a little bit. Right. And people have said, is it safe to give the baby your breast milk since you have COVID-19? It is safe to give. And in fact, it's like gold because it's likely that there are antibodies in the breast milk that help the baby who is nursing fight off infection, like there is with any cold and flu. So if you do breastfeed and you are going through this, it is safe. Do not worry. And also, if you take the herbs, again, these herbs were safe for me to breastfeed.
Right. Wow. And we are cautious of that, as with any medication. So antidepressants, the use of steroids, the use of high blood pressure medications, we consider all of that when we design broad spectrum. So there are certain herbs that we don't use in combination with medications, which is part of why the consultation is really important to have before we make custom formulas. But the broad spectrum support is safe with all of the different types of medications that could have a potential herbal interaction.
Right. So, thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you for sharing.
Yes, for sharing this information with people. And I'll be posting this Instagram live so people can watch it and go back and see anything, get any information that they want to have. And again, please give everybody the website so that they can reach out to you.
Right. So it's universalfamilyclinic.com.
Great. Michael, will you write that in the...
And then appliedbotanicals.com as well.
So they can get these herbs and they can reach out to you to do a consultation for more specific things. I know people had questions about other specific things they were dealing with. And it doesn't have to be COVID-19. It can be anything. No.
Yeah, correct.
Okay. All right. I know Ingrid there's someone named Ingrid who was like, please say hi. Hi, Ingrid. Yes, I'm fine. I'm doing okay. Thank you so much, Brooke.
Thank you
I so appreciate you. Thank you for keeping me healthy.
Thank you for being so courageous to share your story with everybody. It's incredible.
All right, guys. Bye.
Bye.